Hi, good evening. The most anticipated TV, Butte TV. We are live on air. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Wangari, Pauline, and my co-host, Francis. And we have our special guest. I will introduce him in a few minutes. So Butte TV is a community-based TV with the objective of showcasing wonderful stuff from Africa. You know, most of us don't get showcased in a very positive way. So we here, Butte TV will be showcasing Africa in a very, very positive way, and also capturing politics, religion, immigration, and much, much, much more like business. So without further ado, I want to introduce our most honorable Jim Karygiannis.
You've been practicing.
Yes, I've been practicing. Yes, I've been practicing. Yes, it's a long name, but again, you know, it's a good name. Did I say it well, though?
You said it perfectly. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for having me on Butte TV. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
You said it very well. You said it very well. So this is just gonna be like a participatory and like a discussion.
Are you trying to put me on the hot seat?
No, it's not a hot seat.
Good.
But anyway, it does look like a hot seat.
It does, it's all red. I'm not sure if it's the color of the political colors or it just happens to be red.
No political colors here.
Just happens to be red.
We're neutral. But I know you're political.
Cheers to Butte TV.
Yes.
Cheers to Butte TV.
There you go. It lasts for a long time. And
Thank you.
For the community.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I've heard very wonderful things about you.
Don't believe everything you hear.
We did go online and Google. You know, with the internet, you know, like long time ago, you had to ask, do you know him? Now you just Google and
well, sometimes good stuff comes out of Google, and sometimes bad stuff comes out of Google.
Definitely.
What the heck, but it's all there.
That's right.
Definitely. So would like us, you to tell us much about you. You know, it's been said that most of us have come from somewhere, except if you're from Aboriginal. So would like to know where you're from or what you're doing for our community.
You want
all that.
You want a 30-second synopsis of who I am. I
Perfect.
came to this country as 11 years old as an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
My father and my mother chose to come to Canada, and I want to thank them on an everyday basis that they chose this country. It's the best country in the world to migrate to. It's the best country in the world to live. I've been married for 41 years. I got 5 daughters, 5 teachers.
Wonderful.
I have 4 son-in-laws, and I have been in politics now roughly for less of 30 years.
Oh, wow.
I was a federal member of parliament for 26, and as a councillor now for 3. So I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm enjoying the communities. I am enjoying being involved with the communities, and I'm enjoying being here on Butte TV today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Wow,
much.
that's a very good. I think you practice.
30 seconds.
Again, I would like to know, like, when you came here 11 years, and most of us come here when we're adults, did you have a plan, like you're going to end up in politics, or how did it just happen, or was it in your mind, or how did that happen?
When I came to Canada about 51 years ago, now you know how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
Things were different.
Right.
My father applied to immigrate to Canada, and we went and passed the medicals, we passed the exam and everything else. And the immigration officer says, you can go to Canada, we'll send the paperwork home. My father did not hear, we will send your paperwork home, we can go to Canada. So times back then in Greece were tough, not economically. There was a military dictatorship that was about to happen. And my father decided, because he was a left individual, more left than the NDP, he was a communist actually.
Right.
God bless him, and he's passed away, God rest his soul. We got on a plane and came to Canada. When we came here, the immigration officer says, where are your paperwork? My father says, well, they told me I can come to Canada. Back then, there was no internet, there was no email, there was no system that I can check. And he says, well, you got no paperwork, I'm not going to let you in. And the translator said to my mother, claim refugee status. Now, of course, because of what was happening in Greece, my mother said, we're claiming refugee status. After about a 10-minute interview, they decided that my father was indeed eligible to be a refugee.
Okay.
But then you didn't have to go through the process like you today, hearings and all that stuff. Boom, we're stamped in and we're stumped in right away, and we immigrated. So I can probably say that I claimed refuge in this country. My parents did. I can probably say that I immigrated in this country. My wife, I sponsored my wife 10 years after we came in, 1976.
Okay.
Everybody does the trip back home to get married,
Of
find a
course.
wife. So I did that because my father and mother did not like what was happening here. They thought that I was fooling around with too many ladies, so they decided that they were going to take me back home and hitch me. I've been married to the same woman for 41 years.
Oh, wow,
Happily
very nice.
married, and I think I'm the happiest, I'm the luckiest person alive to have a great partner, and have a great family. So I'm very happy. But those days were different. So when I came, English was just bearable. Enough to say good morning, good afternoon. Matter of fact, I learned how to say I don't speak English, I'm from Greece. And then I found out very quickly that if you say that, in those days, things were a little different. There was not multiculturalism, there was no acceptance. There were tough times
Yes.
that I was getting picked upon. So I learned how not to speak. Grade 6 and 7 were tough. Grade 8 was much easier. Grade 9, I made the honor roll. When I made the honor roll, my parents had this dream of making me a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
I ended up studying engineering. I always wanted to get involved community-based. And that came with time. I got involved in community-based activities when I was, around 27, 28. And then by the time I was 32, my name was I was a candidate. My name was on a voters list. The first time that I ran provincially in 1987. I did not win. Thank God I didn't win, because everybody that won in 87,
Right.
provincially in 1990 was wiped out.
Oh, wow.
And then in 88, I ran federally. I got elected. And from 1988 until 2014, I represented the great area of Scarborough-Agincourt, the most ethnically diverse riding federally in Canada. And after that, I decided to leave federal politics after 25 years. You can be there long enough, but then things change in your life. My father passed away, my mother-in-law passed away, my mother was getting old. My wife looked at me one day and says, what are you going to do about going up and down Ottawa? So at that time, the seat that I represent now in council became empty because my predecessor decided not to run, so I decided to run. And for the last 3 years, I'm municipal councillor for Ward, the same area that I represent federally.
And is that Ward 39, is that
Ward
correct?
39, so it's the same area that I represented federally. I'm representing municipally, the north part.
Okay.
It is got about 79% of the people that live in the area are people of different countries. I mean, people of first generation Canadians. So it's the most ethnically diverse ward in the city. I have populations of, there's a large Chinese population, there is a large South Asian, Caribbean population, there's certainly an African population, and it's growing, be it from the Caribbean or Africa, but I got a lot of people that have come from Africa, people from the west part and the east part. I have a large Somali population.
Okay.
I've got Greeks, Armenians, Italians, you call it, it's there. And, we all live together. We
Very
live
nice.
beside each other, we get along, and we've learned to accept and respect each other as we move forward, because it doesn't matter what color your skin, it doesn't matter where you're from. At the end of the day, you're here for your kids, and you're here to make a better country for yourself and your kids. So,
Well said.
Wonderful.
It's very said. Well said.
Francis.
Now, I just wanted to touch base. Now, I've actually got a chance to check you out, and one thing about you is you're deeply involved in the community to a point of passion. One of the website YouTube clips I actually saw recently was actually of you, pretty much stating your opinions on the Scarborough subway line. It got so intense and passionate where you were pretty much interrupted, but you just had this passion about you. Now, just tell us a little bit more about the subway line in terms of the Scarborough subway line.
Again, thank you. It's nice to change it to local issues.
For sure.
Toronto is probably, when it comes to subways, we have the least amount of subways kilometers than other countries. You go to countries that, are small cities, like Athens, for example. Greece is virtually bankrupt. And it's got more kilometers of subway than Toronto. We started building subways in Toronto until the mid-70s, and then we stopped.
Okay.
We stopped at Kennedy, and we had the LRT that went to Scarborough Town Center. Nothing else was built. And then in the 90s, we built the subway line from Yonge Street along Shepherd to Don Mills, and it stopped there. It stopped because there was the, you had the Don Valley 404, and it didn't continue. And for many, many years, they were saying, we're going to build the subway along Shepherd, we're going to build it along Shepherd, and we're going to build the subway from Kennedy and Eglinton to come up to McCowan.
I remember that,
we're going
yes.
to join the two.
Yes.
Well, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Never happened, because the people downtown were saying, well, it's Scarborough, don't worry about it. They're, like in Scarborough, people, especially people north of the 401 in Scarborough, where you have close to about 350,000 people, they get treated as second-class citizens. And people along Shepherd, they're saying, look, we want this line that is, we want it to continue. We want it to end up to McCowan. We want it to go to the zoo. So you got development along Shepherd. You got development coming up along Finch. And we're talking, like 40, 35, 40, floor buildings. You've got development happening at Kennedy and the 401. Yes. You've got development that's going to come at Agincourt Mall. You've got development that's going to at Pridewood Mall. You've got development that steals in Kennedy. And we're talking towers that are 35, 40 floors. And we're going to get at Shepherd, the Agincourt Mall, there's going to be about 5,000 units. There's going to be about 9,000 people. And then at Bridlewood Mall, that's going to get 13 towers. There's going to be 9,000 people. Where are these people? How are these people going to be able to get to go downtown to work or to get things to move around? So if you don't build that subway, if you don't accept the subway, if you don't build the subway, well, people are going to be locked in getting into cars and streetcars and buses and all that stuff.
Definitely.
People are talking about an LRT. The LRT life is 30 to 40 years. The subway line can be up to 100 years,
100 years,
if not more. Look at the subways in New York. Look at the subway that we built on Yonge Street. In the 1950s, when they were building, the TTC was building the subway, they said, oh, we don't need it, there's not enough people, and everything else. And look at the subway now. I mean, it's back to back and you can't get in.
Can't get in.
So unless you got myopia and you got blinders on and you don't see into the future, well, you're not going to do stuff. So we got to do stuff. I'm sick and tired of everybody that treats Scarborough and the people who are 39, 40, 41, and 42 are second-class citizens. Everything gets done south of Bloor. All the events and all the activities are south of Bloor. What happened to the people that live north of Bloor? What happened to the people that live north of 401? They can't be ignored. They've been ignored too far.
So
and that's where the passion comes
sorry
from.
to cut you short, but is it about the money that we don't have, or is it that we don't have people who come at the table who can really make this going, or what's happening? Or maybe you're not advocating for it enough? Both.
I mean, all the money that, after amalgamation, the suburbs were affluent. The town centers were brand new. The community centers were new. And downtown, because of the length of time that they were there, they were, falling apart. So all the attention was paid to downtown.
Okay.
And all the development happened downtown. Now that development is happening in the suburbs, everybody's saying, well, it really doesn't matter. So we're talking about a relief line from paved subway down to Union Station. Well, what's that relief line going to handle? The relief line is going to help the people that are going to be at the bottom of the Don Valley. There's going to be development. There's going to be towers.
Gotcha.
So the relief line will be built in order to assist them.
Okay.
So what happened to the people, the development that's going to take place at Bridlewood Mall? What happens to the development that's going to take place in Agincourt Mall? Well, nobody cares. So the determination is there.
What do we need to do as a community, and you being our voice?
Well, it's not only that I'm your voice, and I thank you for that. I think the people that live downtown and people that live in other areas have to realize, and they have to say to their councillors, look, Toronto is one. It doesn't matter where you're in Toronto, you are one.
Right.
And everybody should have the ability to walk to the subway.
Correct.
There was a lady that came to make a deputation. I said to her, how far are you from the subway? Well, I am 2 kilometers. I said, you can walk to the subway. She said, yes. I said, don't you think that should be afforded the same thing? That should be able to walk the subway? Oh, no. I said, what makes you different than I am? Just because you live downtown?
Yeah.
So the passion comes from that. I mean, you can be in Scarborough or in Etobicoke and not have those subway stops. If you look at North York, it has 13 subway stops. If you look into Etobicoke, which is much smaller than Toronto, it has 3 or 4. Scarborough has 2, and we're going to go to 3. So come on. You can't treat Scarborough. Every time something happens in Scarborough, there's a connotation of Scarborough being, like Scarborough, like this happened in Scarborough.
Yes, exactly.
Whenever something happening in North York, you don't say North York. Yeah. You say particular area.
Yes, exactly.
So what happened to something in Scarborough? Why are you saying it happened in Scarborough? Why don't you say it happened in this particular area?
Exactly. Well, I mean, the stigma, obviously, where a lot of people just have this thing about Scarborough, and you know, they don't really categorize like you just said, and that's been going on for quite some time now, for years. Now, how can we actually go ahead and maybe just change the minds of the viewers or just people in general to stop having that generalization?
It's not Scarborough versus downtown. It's not North York versus Scarborough. It's not Scarborough versus Etobicoke. We're all one city. We're Toronto. And the faster that we understand that this amalgamated city, which is going on 20 years, amalgamation was an exercise. Some people say it failed. Some people say it was fair and it passed. Well, we're in it. We're all in it together, and we shouldn't pit one community against another community. Unfortunately, some downtown councillors, they only care about downtown, and they don't care about uptown, or they don't care about suburbs. So we've got to make sure that we realize it's not uptown versus downtown. It's not Scarborough versus Toronto. It's Toronto, period, full stop, end of story. You've got to get off this thing. Well, Toronto does not deserve subways. Scarborough does not deserve subways. Scarborough does not deserve community centers. You've got to get off it. Because if you're off it, well, guess what? The people in the suburbs are going to say enough is enough. And, you know, there's going to be difficulties, even in council. And there's difficulties right there, right now.
Right there, yeah.
Wow, there you have it. You see, you can tell that we have a councillor who is very passionate about the things that really matters to the local community here. And so I will be welcoming questions. Those who have sent questions in advance, thank you so much. And those who are willing to send more, we're still accepting. And we'll be going on a break in a few minutes, but before you go on a break,
you got to tell them where to send those questions.
Yes, you can send a question at info@buildtv, info@buildtv@gmail.com. Thank you once again. We'll be asking more questions. Do you have?
You're going to put me in the hot seat, eh?
Yes.
So yeah, we're definitely going to be coming back. We're going to have a few questions we're going to be asking. We're going to be checking the live feed to see the questions that are actually been sent right now. So once we come back with Councillor Jim Karygiannis, we'll definitely be addressing those questions. So please hang tight, and we'll be right back. Thank you. TV. I'm your co-host Francis, and this is our host Pauline, here with Councillor Jim Karygiannis, Ward 39, Scarborough Agincourt. So Jim, we've actually had the opportunity to actually talk with you and discuss a few issues. I just wanted to touch base on the next upcoming municipal elections. So,
well, we're a year and a month away.
Perfect.
October the 22nd.
October 22nd.
You know, which is almost to the day.
Okay.
Yeah, 13 months from now, we're going to have an election. The boundaries will be distributed. So we have 44 wards and the mayor 45. There is a move right now to go to 47 councillors and the mayor 48. That's being disputed at the OMB. Somebody that the decision was, the council voted to have 47. Somebody disagreed with that and they took it to the Ontario Municipal Board. So we can either stay as we are or the boundaries will change and we're going to enlarge.
Perfect.
So you're going to have an election period that will start May the 1st. To people will be able to register until July 4th, 5th, somewhere on that date, and then August 1st type of thing, the election period will start until October the 22nd. Okay.
Now, for the viewers actually watching, now, why would somebody want to actually vote for you?
Well, you know what? I want to thank you. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem.
I've represented the area for the last 30 years, federally or municipally. I've knocked on a lot of doors, I've spoken to a lot of people, I've done a lot of work for the people. But the situation is that you vote for somebody, be it myself, be it for Mayor John Tory, be it for, Doug Ford, Rob Ford, the late Rob Ford, you vote for somebody for what they stand for. You vote for somebody for the work that you've done. You vote for somebody that has the same ideas as you do. So if you're looking federally, there's one set of criteria. What's the federal Liberal Party, Conservative, NDP, the Green, where they're going. Provincial, the same. Municipally, however, we do not have a party system in the city of Toronto.
Okay.
There's a party system in Montreal, and there's certainly a party system in Vancouver. But in the city of Toronto, we do not have a party system.
Oh, wow.
However, that doesn't stop the NDP from fielding and left-leaning candidates. And then you vote for local issues, be it that you have a local issue as the subway, like the Shepherd subway. Be it that you have a local issue that you want to have a GO train that goes through and how that affects your area. In my area, I have the GO train that's been put forward by the provincial government, Metrolinx, but because it's going over streets that are like Finch and Steeles and Shepherd that are high traveled, you need to make sure that there's an access where people, this going of the trains back and forth is uninterrupted. So you need to have the street like Finch and Steeles go underneath. So this is like the overpass or the underpass. And you do have other local issues that you vote people for.
Yes.
Or you vote against somebody because there's a local issue that person does not rise to the challenge. Now, I will give you one example. In my area, I have rooming houses. Rooming house is where you take a home, which is a single family home, you split it up and you put 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 individuals to live in rooms as families. And in my area has made people very angry. So people came to me and said, look, we don't like this. We want you to represent us and have those ideas at City Hall.
Okay.
So I held town hall meetings. I've canvassed the area. We did service in the area, and I'm representing the people on this issue. But there's other issues, like, you might have a factory that wants to get built. You might have a factory that's emitting garbage. So local issues, municipally, are the ones that move to the councillor, him or her forward.
Great.
Wonderful. And still, while we're still on the municipal, I would like to hear, how would you encourage maybe a young person who's aspiring to get into that board and get at the table and really be able to, because, and again, I will also mention that there's very few immigrants, and especially like people of color and black people. So we'd like to see more at the table. What is the criteria? What is the step that they should take?
Number one, you got to put your life on hold for a couple of months while you're running. So you decided I'm going to run. You either do it full flat out or don't do it at all. There's people that say, well, I'm going to run for municipal politics and I'm going to canvass from 6 o'clock until 9 o'clock and I'm going to reach people. 6 to 9, it's 180 minutes. If you knock at a house and it takes you 2 minutes per house, you knocked at 90 homes. Well, that's not enough. So you got to be out there dedicated for 2 or 3 months. You got to have a local issue. You got to have a team behind you. It doesn't have to be a large team, 10 people.
So how do you find a team, or how do you come up with this? And how do you get the connection? Because sometimes people, they say that the people you hang around, so how do you get there?
The people you hang around, your spouse, your family, those are the first people you go to. You talk to your spouse or your partner and say, listen, I'm thinking of running for politics. Do you think it's a good idea? Will you encourage me to run?
Right.
If you don't have the support of your family, your immediate family, don't run.
Oh, wow.
If you don't have the support of your spouse, and he or she will not be there with you or your partner, what are you doing? You're committing suicide. You're committing suicide because as soon as you get involved in politics, politics is not a part-time gig. Politics is not 9 to 5. Politics is 9 to 9, 9:01 to 8:59.
So,
next morning,
there's
no such thing about being off politics.
We
got questions.
I really got it. Yeah, I got a question, and I'm gonna go straight to it because it's not my question. So with
let's thank the person
about the recent increase of the taxes, and someone wrote that recently the finance minister said the changes would affect someone who's earning less than 150,000. Or they can plow that money to RSP and TFSA. Do you agree, Mr. Jim? The health minister do not seem to fully understand the implication. Maybe she will when the doctors leave. I'm not sure what they mean. So I'm reading so let me finish up the question. Sure. So that, do you have a comment on that? You came from a small business family yourself. Are they happy and in agreement with the changes about the taxes, have you sought to have a consultation with your community? So there are tons of loaded.
No, listen, it's a loaded, approach, and I want to thank the listener for sending this to you and
Right.
putting this forward. Whenever you do any consultations, about doing new taxes,
Right.
people bring different ideas to the table. At one time, when I was a federal politician, I said local issues for national solutions. And what we did, we brought a small team of business people together and stakeholders and said, okay, what's more important to you? And how do we go resolve this? And then it was talked about nationally. Now, when we talk about local issues and taxation, and I'm going to, I want to thank the person for sending this out. And there's challenges that the federal government is having right now, and there's new taxes that are coming in. There's very little consultation for that to happen. And you know what? I think that the federal minister and the federal government has to be told this and to be held accountable. But when it comes to raising taxes municipally, we skirt around the tax issue and say, we're not taking your levy up. We're not going to increase your house taxes.
Right.
But you want your garbage? We're going to charge you for your garbage.
Right.
You want your water? We're going to charge you for your water. You want us to pick this thing up? We're going to charge you for this. So there's municipally, there's hidden
Charges.
increases.
Yes.
Those hidden increases got to come to the forefront. You got a house, certain footage for your thing, amount of people, this is when you're going to be charged.
Right.
These increases about, we're going to charge you for your garbage, how big your garbage is, we're going to charge you for this, we're going to charge you for that.
Yeah.
We're nickeling and diming people.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is our hidden taxes. Those hidden taxes have to come out.
I totally agree.
I'd rather see the tax straight here.
Right.
This is what I'm paying for tax.
Yeah.
I don't want to see tax on sewage, and I don't want to see tax on the water, and I don't want to see. Tell me what you're charging me.
Yeah.
Right.
Straight up front, so I know.
Prepared.
Do not sugarcoat it. And unfortunately, up to now, the municipal government has sugarcoated. I am an advocate of telling people, this is how big your house is, this is how many people you got in your house, this is the kind of garbage that you're generating, these are your taxes.
Okay.
So you're going to get a certain bin, and because you got so many people, you're going to tax that much. And if you want a bigger bin, fine. But everybody gets a bin, and everybody pays a certain amount of taxes on the square footage of home that you got. And I don't care if that square footage of home is downtown, uptown, or anything else.
Okay.
It has to be one thing. Unfortunately, we're sugarcoating it, and we're saying, you hear the mayor and everybody else, I'm not going to take the taxes up. And in the meantime, we're thinking of new taxes on the roofs of the buildings that you have. We're thinking of new taxes here and there. What are you kidding? Who are you lying to? Where are you going? Who are you misleading? Let's not use the word lying. It's a heavy word. Why are you misleading the people? Why are you not telling the people, this is how big your property is, this is when you're going to have? Where you want a subway on Shepherd? Fine, we'll build you a subway in Shepherd, but everybody north of the 401 that's going to use the subway, you're going to have to get another mill rate on top of that in order for us to pay the subway. The subway's going to cost so much. It's going to be over 100 years. So your taxes over the next 100 years in that area, because we're serving you, is going to go up by 1% or 2% to pay off for the subway. Why are we kidding people?
Right.
Let people know what the cost is. Be upfront. Tell the people this is what it is. Sugarcoating it, you're misleading the people. And that's got to stop.
Right.
For sure. No, definitely, that's a good one. And just after that too, I can actually sense a transparency and a passion in your comment about this. And that's what viewers need to actually have in mind when actually voting for the next, councillor or mayor or whoever else they're going to be doing in the near future.
You know who you vote for? Number one, you got to get a couple of minutes to know. So, candidates knock at your door, asking the questions, asking the tough questions. Usually the candidate does not have 5 or 10 minutes to talk to you. And if a candidate is running, if somebody's running as a candidate, and they spend 5 or 10 minutes at the door, I have to tell you, please don't run. Please don't bother running.
Right.
I mean, when you're at the door, say to the person, look, I want to thank you for those questions. Can I come back after I finish canvassing? Can I come back at 9:30 and have a cup of coffee with you to sit down at the table and discuss this? Can I call you at 9:30 and discuss these points with you?
Okay.
So
Wow,
I would say to
wonderful.
you, listen, I've knocked at doors, 9 times in my area, and I've knocked at thousands of doors right across Canada. So the candidate that spends a lot of time at the door, she or he's burning sunlight. Sunlight is very important. you need to reach out to everybody. Everybody has to see your face, and you have to get to know those people. So when you go at the door, when you're speaking when you're talking to a candidate, you got to realize there's certain tones. You can judge a person by looking at them.
Right.
You can judge a person by the way that they act. You got to be, as a candidate, you have to be truthful, even if it hurts, and you got to be straightforward. You can't hide behind, well, I don't know, the party policy is this. There's no such thing.
Right. So
you got to be straightforward.
Again, I'm going to move on to the next question, which is was commented that about the migration, and you know how tough it is for people to migrate here. And this was someone was referencing that it's so easier to find for a person who is in United States to bring their parents to visit or to come and visit rather than Canada. So what is why? Is there some sugarcoating there?
Look, I'm gonna speak about immigration, but you have to understand that I left federal politics 3 years ago. So anything that I say, my knowledge is taught back then. Immigration has not gotten easier. Immigration to Canada is getting harder. There's a lot more people that want to immigrate to Canada, and a lot more qualified people.
Okay.
And there's picks and choosing. If you want to slow immigration down from a part of the world, you withdraw the services that are there. So if you got 10 agents, you take it down to 5.
Okay.
So that way you don't say that we're slowing it down.
Yeah.
But you have less people to service that.
Right.
There was a point in time that there was a heated discussion in the immigration committee, and I said to one of the officers that was there, a bureaucrat, and I said, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And these were African-based countries.
Right.
And it was taking a hell of a lot of longer time for people to come from those countries than it was taking for people to come from other countries that, they're Europeans or Caucasians. So Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica, what had happened is they depleted the staff, and it was taking longer. I looked at her, and I said to her, I'll tell you why you're not letting them in. You're not letting them in. And I hesitate to use the word, but that's the word that I said. No, because they're black. And I looked at her and I told her that. Straight off the bat. And this is on CBC, and people can criticize me. But when you looked at the statistics that was happening, the federal government at the time was taking people out of those posts in order to slow down immigration. So if you don't want to say, they're saying, we're letting people equally from all the other countries. If you want to slow it down, the only thing that they did at the time was deplete the officers, so officers was taking longer, the processing was taking longer. Back in 2006-07, we started having the parental applications started to backlogging. It got to a point that the parental applications were taking 8 to 10 years. So, thank you very much for planning to come to Canada, but, you'll see your parents in 10 years. So things have changed now. Now they got the parents on the lottery system. You have to apply, and then they have a lottery system for you to come.
Wow. So
things have changed.
I want to ask, because I know you're in Liberal, and I think when Liberal...
I was.
You was,
now
okay.
I'm a political atheist.
Okay.
I don't belong to any political party in the city.
Okay.
However, my blood is Liberal, but when it comes to politics,
right.
in the city, we have no Liberal, NDP, or Conservative. So municipal politics, there's no...
Because when they were campaigning, they really said that things were going to get better with the migration. So, but again, I wanna commend you for coming up, or opening up, and not sugarcoating and saying the way they are. And some of us we suffer the end of not being listened, or. But again, I appreciate that you're saying that. It's the backlog happened because we have less people who are working on these cases.
The backlog also happened because there was a lot more people wanting to immigrate to Canada. Canada is one of the favorite destinations for immigrants, right. And when you have 1 million applications in, but the structure, the infrastructure can only take $250,000 per year for 300,000. If you don't have the infrastructure, if you all of a sudden open up the doors, what's going to happen? People are going to come in, but you won't have the infrastructure to look after them. You need housing to begin with. You need new housing. Right. You need to make sure that the schools are there. You need to make sure that the transportation is there, which comes back to the municipal issue. Right. For example, there's a lot of people right now in the United States that want to leave the States because of what is happening with Trump.
Exactly,
the visas are running out in December, and we have a large Haitian community that is scared, and they're coming to Canada. So they cross the border in Quebec, and a lot of them will be ending up in Toronto. The first thing that I did as an advocate for newcomers, I am colorblind. When I say I'm colorblind when it comes to skin, I don't care where you're from, I don't care what you look like, I'm colorblind. So immediately I called the Haitian community, we had 2 round tables, and we're moving to empower the community to be able to help their brethren and to be able to make sure that they're there to look. So when it comes to people of different color, when it comes to people where they come from, I don't care where you come from, I don't care what you look like, to me you're a human being, and that's what matters.
Wow, that's so, you know what, I think even because of the time that we have, we're going to have you come back here because there's so many other questions that I would want us to touch and really elaborate more and go, especially the I know we didn't touch on the health, the education and women, because I would also want to hear more.
5 daughters, mother, and a wife. I know my place in the world.
Yeah, so we would definitely want to have, and again, I want to thank you for being our first guest. It's been awesome. For me, it's my first time being a host here, and again, you've made the conversation and dialogue go very well. I want to give it up to R Square, who is the major sponsor for this event. And
but before we do that, let's just touch base on just a wrap up here.
One word.
Yes.
And something that you have to remember. In this country, we all come from different places, and we say diversity is our strength. I have 4 words that I will elaborate on. You have to respect each other as equals. I have to respect you for the work that you're doing.
Yes.
I have to accept you of the difference in difference in color of the skin, and you know, I have to accept everybody as an equal. You celebrate our differences and you embrace our future.
Very
now,
true.
race, R-A-C-E, respect, accept, celebrate, and embrace.
Wow.
That is what it's all about.
That's a very powerful one there.
So that's the message that I always live with everybody. If you don't respect your person beside you, you don't accept them as an equal, you don't celebrate them, and you don't embrace the future together, guess what? Do me a favor, please. If you don't think that you're a part of that, you don't belong in this country, if you feel like leaving the country because you say, well, she or he is of a different color, they don't belong here, please leave.
I wish we could have more people thinking the same way, because the world would be a better place to live and a better place to immigrate in. So with that, we would like to welcome you. Do you have another thing to add before we?
No, that's about it. No, it's very enlightening, you know, to have you here, just, you know, shed your light. Like I said to you before, you definitely speak with passion, and that's something people should actually, you know, be focused on once they're actually making the next vote, because, you know, you can have a lot of politicians, you know, that say a lot of stuff, but you can always sense passion. And I say passion speaks truth. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me. And I will say one thing. I hope that TV takes off.
Yes.
I hope that I'm invited back. And I hope
you definitely will be invited back.
I wish them a lot of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So again, I want to thank you, our sponsors, R Square, Becky Enterprise, Wangari P Consulting, and Team Slee Advertising. Thank you so much all, and I want to give thank you to our camera crew and all the people who are, and all the people who are here, our first audience. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an awesome time having Honorable Jim Karygiannis. I've been practicing that.
She's been practicing well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's
been an honor having you here.
Thank you so much. Tune in next time for the next episode for View TV, and yeah, stay enlightened. Thank you.